Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for having me here. And it's wonderful to see all of you, especially on this wretched day, so I will try and have something even more useful to say given the weather. As I said, it's great to be here, and one of the things that I value the most about my life in the theater is the depth and the breadth of the relationships that I've developed over time with colleagues and with mentors in the field, and many of you are here today, friends, colleagues, mentors, and you know who you are. As many of you know, TDF is committed to enabling and building audiences for theater and dance. My colleagues and partners in crime sitting over here, as well as a board member who I wouldn't call a partner in crime, Sandy Fresh, we spend a lot of time talking about getting people to the theater. And I spend a lot of time thinking about audiences. Ludovica and I thought that it might be interesting for me to talk about that this afternoon. One of the joys, can everybody hear me, by the way? Yeah. Okay. Okay. One of the joys of working in a service organization is that you're supposed to pull back and think about issues facing the field and figure out about how to help fix things. The pace is sometimes slower than in a producing organization. Too slow for me some of the time, but it does allow for intentional thinking. I've been thinking a lot, as you heard, about the study on the lives of American playwrights and new American plays, which TDF just published. Among many of the issues surfaced in the report is an issue about the difference about the way writers, the playwrights and the theaters think about their audience. The authors of the book and I have been traveling a lot, talking about the findings and the challenge they pose to us all. In Los Angeles recently, a playwright asked me why TDF was so focused on the idea that a successful play had to be one that attracted a large audience. He said that he felt that he had succeeded if a play of his that he loved was produced for a short run in a small venue for people he knew. He, of course, earned his living doing something else. I said that we didn't mean to be judgmental, but rather that TDF was founded by people who believed that the theater was important, and that part of being important meant that some number of people actually had to see the play. But it's about relevance, and it's about being in the conversation. There's all sorts of work going on outside the mainstream, whether you describe the mainstream as Broadway, off-Broadway, or the regional theater, or all of the above. That work is really important, and it's not to be disregarded. But today, for us, here at Sardi's in New York City, I want to talk about the mainstream, which is where I think the most impact can be had. To start with a few numbers. Audiences for the theater are declining. The latest NEA survey on participation in the arts, published in 2008, reveals that attendance by Americans at non-musical plays has declined by 30% in the 16 years from 1992 to 2008. Musicals are doing better. The loss is only 4%, which the report characterizes as statistically insignificant. Other reports back this up. The American Arts Alliance has just announced its National Arts Index. This is a highly distilled annual measure of the health and vitality of the arts in the United States. It covers an 11-year period from 1998 to 2008. Among its many findings, the percentage of the U.S. population attending arts events is shrinking, and they characterize the decline as noticeable. Broadway attendance was down 3% last year compared to the prior year, and is on track to be down probably another 3% this year. And if you think about who's sitting in most of our theaters right now, and you think about what our country is going to look like in 20 years, let alone what it looks like now, there's more to worry about. According to the latest Broadway League study, the Broadway audience is 80% Caucasian, against a national average in the country of 66%. Hispanic and Black audiences are significantly underrepresented against national percentages at 8.6% and 2.4% respectively. As for education levels, 73% of the audience has a college or postgraduate degree. 57% of the audience makes more than $100,000 a year, and the average income is $195,700. The average age is 42.2 years. As we know, the majority of the attendees, 66.2%, are women. A note about that, if so many of us are in the audience, shouldn't we be able to achieve 50-50 by 2020? Unless those of us who work in the not-for-profit sector think that these demographic statistics are just about Broadway, it's not much different out there in our not-for-profit theaters around the country, other than with regard to income levels, which are lower nationally. So, what's going on? We know that it costs a lot to produce plays. We know that ticket prices are high, too high, but we also know that most Broadway shows don't recoup, and that recoupment is what encourages people to invest the next time. We know that not-for-profit theaters off Broadway and around the country are struggling in the face of a recession that has hurt fundraising, government support, and ticket sales. I don't have the answers, but I would like to throw out a few ideas. There are success stories and there are opportunities. I'm going to talk a little bit about diversity and a little bit about technology. Diversity, as you know, encompasses many things: race, age, economic levels, education, and gender. And there's no way that we're going to unpack all of the issues related to that topic here in one luncheon. But it's an important issue. And we have to talk about how we as producers and marketers decide what the target audience is for a particular show. We have to look at our assumptions. Mix up the audience. Don't assume that you know how a play will resonate for someone. Think about the audience in terms of what the play is about, not just in terms of who the people in it are. I've learned from the students in our programs that Rachel referenced that it is a mistake to make assumptions about what will resonate. Every June, we have a graduation for the participants in our Open Doors program, a mentoring program for New York City high school students. One year at graduation, a young woman spoke about going to see Wicked. And here's part of what she said. I am a Palestinian-American Muslim. My culture is very important to me. It gives me a sense of purpose and helps define who I am. Yet it has also caused me a great deal of pain and hardship. Being Muslim and Arabic, I am faced with many different stereotypes. The portrayal of my people by the media only exacerbates the hatred that I am faced with on a daily basis. I can't understand why a piece of material, referring to her headscarf, can cause so much hatred. I was very hesitant and nervous about going to the theater. I didn't think I would fit into the theater crowd, and I was wary about the stares that I would get for wearing my Muslim attire. When I stepped into the theater for the first time and looked around, I was the only person wearing a scarf. I felt awkward and out of place, but what made things worse were the stares. Everything changed the minute the lights went out and the curtain came up. For the rest of my life, I will always remember my experience of seeing Wicked. I was brought to tears several times during the performance. I identified very strongly with the character of Elphaba. I felt all her emotions, from sadness to loneliness to defiance. I knew the pain she experienced as she was shunned for her green skin by her classmates. Her hardships paralleled with the hardships and scrutiny that I've had to endure. I never thought my life could be portrayed up on stage. I never thought the theater could move me as much as it has. I'm not suggesting that the Wicked marketing team should have been targeted at this specific audience, but rather